CONOR BENN fighting Chris Eubank. This is absolutely insane in every sense of the word. Insane, because number one, CONOR BENN is not in his weight class at all. Eubank has been campaigning at that weight class that he's in for a good period of time. It's a business deal. It's a business situation that will be beneficial to both of them, yeah. Mutually beneficial. But all in all, the disadvantages are highly stacked against CONOR. If CONOR gets in a ring with Eubank and sustains an injury that is irreversible, this is something that he can't backpedal from. It's a whole completely different ball game as when he's fighting someone of a welterweight proportion. It's a whole different ball game, and for Chris Eubank, he has already stated that it will be easy for him to make the catch weight. He is very comfortable where he's at, oscillating between the two. So what does this mean? Financially, it's great for both parties. It's great for both fighters. It's great for both promotional sides. Now that's the business side of it. Everyone will benefit on the business side of it. Like I said, it'll be highly mutually beneficial for CONOR's side, and it'll be highly mutually beneficial for both sides. Meaning that CONOR's side will benefit a lot, Chris' side will benefit a lot. And let's not forget, this is not just a global recession, but we're talking about a pandemic global recession. So everyone in the business world, from the accountants to the managers to the directors to the company directors and promoters of any commercial venture, knows the terrain they're dealing in at this point in time is not an easy economic climate for anybody, even for governments, let alone enterprises which are private. So of course it's a moment to grab as fast and as much as you can accumulate, financially speaking. Now, in terms of what you can walk away with as an individual, of course, one would be obligated to make their payments to their financial backers, their whoever has any stakes in them, by whatever percentage it is. But after all is said and done, and you get down to the baseline of what they walk away with, it's still going to be highly substantial. So the question becomes, is that worth it in the long run? And is it worth it in the short run? Both business-wise and in terms of the specific environment we're talking about, which is sports. And then even more specific, we're talking about combat sports. And even more specific is boxing within combat sports. So there are upsides and there are downsides. And one has to now navigate between the two. To what extent is the upside an upside, and to what extent is the downside a downside? In other words, how much does the downside negatively affect the upside? You could say, how much does the upside positively affect the downside? But of course, the negative has to be the one to be looked at the most. If someone was chasing you with a knife, thinking of the positive of him dropping all his money from his pockets. Maybe he had £1 million in his pocket and he was chasing you with a knife and you had nothing in your hand. There's an upside of all that £1 million dropping in his pocket, but that's not what your whole soul and spirit and mind will be concentrating on. Your instant priority in that moment of time would be the worst case scenario, not the best case scenario. Best case scenario will be the secondary line of thought. So the worst case scenario is you being stabbed, and not just you being stabbed, but you being stabbed fatally. That's beyond now injuriously, simply causing an injury. Fatally means death. That's a finality which is irreversible. So in the boxing ring now, we already know the upside is going to be UK loves boxing and sports in general, and the world also loves sports and combat sports. It's innate. It's an innate interest. And with these two fighters who are very good, who wouldn't watch it? Even if it wasn't your initial desire, even if you didn't initially think this will be what I want to watch. When it's on, it's on. So let's get it popping. Of course you want to see it if you know it's final. Plus there's a history of the two as far as their families are concerned. Nigel Benn was Conor's father, and an extremely prominent boxer in the middleweight division back in the day. And so was Chris's father, Chris Eubanks. And there was high competition between the two at the time. And now there's been high competition between the two sons to an extent at the early stages of their career, the inception. But when we now begin to talk about the damage aspects, Chris is a puncher in his way. Definitely a puncher. Chris is a puncher. He's definitely a puncher. It doesn't have to be the biggest of punchers, but he's big enough of a puncher. He's not a minimal puncher in his way. Conor is a puncher in his way, but the weight division difference is large enough, significant enough for it to be very devastating if Conor was to receive not just one punch, but an accumulation of punches which you cannot contain. And one can always look at it from the promotional side and say, oh, well, he can always come back and say, oh, you know, I took some punches and I lost to a bigger man who was okay in the sport also, so who cares? I can always build back, get my career back up. But it might not be that way. What if you come back and you're just not the same? What if you've been so irreversibly damaged that you're still okay, but the difference is so bad? Because humans are not just built to be beaten down by someone so much bigger than them, who is highly competent also. Doesn't have to be the very best, but highly competent. Chris is highly competent. Yeah, highly competent. So the question would be, how much sense was it in making this arrangement in the first place? Now we know Eddie Hearn is involved in the promotion, and not just involved, he's heavily involved as chief promoter. And he's through and through a businessman first and foremost. So, and I know from the business world, which I've been myself, when you're in a certain climate, you have to look at things from a certain financial perspective in terms of priority, and I just don't see how any of those fighters can believe truly that he has their best interest at heart as far as their own personal humanity. Financially, he may. That's like all three of us make a split. We make a third each, or whatever, however it's arranged. And but where does that lead you? A fighter who once was, from Conor's perspective, once seen as carefully managed, being drafted and maneuvered to the top with care, with due care, not overly protected. He's been protected, but not overly protected. He's been guided not to overrush things, just the way any manager would do, just the way any coach or father would take his son. And he's in a good place. I would say Chris is in a very good place right now. Chris is in a good place. And I said Chris, I meant Conor. Conor is in a good place right now. Chris is in a good place too. But Conor is in a very good place right now. And ahead of him, he has the landscape of the middleweight, the middle scope crushers of the welterweight. There's those prospects like Jaron Ennis, Avanis, Danny Garcia. Well, Danny's now moved to a middle, but we don't know if that's permanent. But yes, Danny Garcia, Ortiz, and a few others who are doing very well in the middle regions. You know, the prospects who he has to now overcome to get to the upper echelons where the gatekeeper would be, or the gatekeepers would be. And the question is, can he get past them? It looks like he probably can. You know, one or two of them may be able to say, no, we can definitely beat you, Conor. But that's arguable. That's not, you know, one may want to mention Jaron, one may even believe Ortiz maybe, but maybe not as well. Maybe not. It's all about the night. How does it go down on the night? You can't say for sure that this person is going to 100% do this. This is not football. This is not basketball. This is about absolute high level operation competence in the heat of the moment. This is not just your physicality here. This is your soul. This is your spirit. This is how you operate, and not just how you do on the very night, but the accumulation of your days and nights before that period of time. So this is the way boxing operates. This is how combat operates in general. So can Conor get past all those prospects? Of course. Will he? Who knows? But the potential is there. And as I've said before, it doesn't make sense necessarily that a prospect fights all the prospects, because who have you got left to fight after that? When you get to the championship period, when you get to the period where big money is to be made, huge, vast amounts, millions of dollars or pounds to be made in your championship fights. If you've already cleared away all the potential big names for those big fights, then who do you have? That's one excuse that could be used, but also one reality. At the same time, there's also the question of their own promoters may not want to have them be available for that moment in time. They might not want them to be available for you for that moment in time, because they're guiding them carefully too, knowing that there's a potential clash, not just physically, but financially. Again, for millions of dollars and multiple millions of pounds. So why crash it with a potential big fight? You're wasting talent. And that's a legitimate argument. Financially and entertainment-wise, in terms of entertainment industry, you don't waste the best of the talent yet. But physically, in terms of combat, it's technically a duck. Unfortunately, like I say, a duck is a duck. Even though it's understandable in this case. You know, we're not stupid. So, there is that to overcome, and there is getting past that point in time, which is not too far potentially. If he can get himself over the hill of those warriors, then he's got Spence to deal with, then he's got Bud to deal with. But apparently, Bud and Spence have both spoken of their own ascent to 154 division. That's they're not planning to remain unless they have to, or if they have a rematch clause, a contract for a rematch in place, or a trilogy, you know, which is for all the marbles in the game. Again, financially and physically. So you're talking about multiple considerations to be made, which have to do with the eventual and ultimate viability of these events taking place. Time constraining also, because, you know, fighting is not a game where you just waste time and wait for the next year and the next year and the next season. It's not a commodity that is imperishable. These are perishable goods, so to speak, in business-wise, because there's a window of opportunity within the realms of combat where sporting celebrants operate within an average of 10 years, at their prime, at their best. Some have special genetics where they're permitted biologically or physiologically to continue to a much longer duration. But those are exceptions. Those are exceptional cases. That's not your everyday case. It does happen. All things are possible is a saying in all reality. So, is it a good thing? Is it a good thing? Why would they want to risk CONOR, such a commodity at this moment in time? Isn't it a rash move from Eddie? I do generally have liked Eddie, over the years, but we look at CONOR's family and Chris's family as national treasures in UK, and even if it wasn't them, for any boxer to be treated in that way seems very, very, very conniving a thing, and very, very over rash, money grabbing. You must grab money. You must grab the opportunity in this time. Money is your survival in the economic sphere. We understand that. We're not foolish. However, this for anyone with common sense, you can see this is a very desperate move. Very desperate move. Very desperate move. More so from the CONOR side. I can't blame Chris. He didn't call him out. CONOR's called him out twice. We've seen it documented, and I do like both of them. Why would he turn it down? Even if Chris had a different fight lined up, of course you'd agree. This is a national blockbuster, and for sure an international blockbuster. And the millions involved will be very, very substantial. So why would he turn it down? From Chris's side, okay, let's do it. Let's do it if you want. I'll come down a little bit. It'll be uncomfortable for most fighters to do, but some fighters can easily oscillate between certain weight categories because of their natural physiology. And in this case, it seems to be so. And this is not a rubbish boxer. This is a very decent boxer. He has the genetics. Also, his father was a boxer. So, yeah, for him, let's do it. He could shed those pounds easy. I'm cool. No problem. That's him talking, right? But from Conor's side, it's a challenge. I'm a warrior. Yeah, let's go. Boom, boom, boom. Let's get it popping. Go up the weight. Clear him. Now this is a warrior's mind now. Clear this guy. Take any challenge. If I lose, I come down. He's probably not even thinking if I lose. He's probably 80%, 90% in the mindset of I'm gonna win. I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna rinse him, right? So if that's the case, and he goes up there and he gets smashed up irreversibly, even if it's not 100% irreversible, as a human being he might be fine, but as a fighter, the damage level may be just too much to compete at the optimal level in a game such as intense as this. It might not be the best idea. It just might not be the best idea. And it definitely is not the best idea. Even if he wins, and in fact, even if he wins in devastating fashion, it was a gamble, like going into Vegas and rolling the dice. No, it's a gamble too far. It's not a wise move. It is definitely not a wise move. This is not how to operate. Because what he's risking is far much more. If you were just an average, mediocre fighter, then we understand. You're a mediocre fighter, okay. But someone of his standard, despite, because one may look at another major technicality from a bird's eye view, which maybe the promoter looking at it, Eddie, and saying, okay, what you have in front of you, other than this, on the way to the hilltop, is such a high challenge. Like I mentioned already, there's Ortiz there to deal with. There's Avenis to deal with that level of competition and competitiveness that they've put forth, with evidence. There's Jaron Ennis operation to deal with, to overcome, right? And there are a few others. So he may potentially be able to deal with them, but the promoter might be looking at it from a numbers game. Like, look, the chances of you doing that are also risky, highly risky. And it's best to get this money grab. It's a big grab that you might not have an opportunity to get again if you went to fight one of those prospects and lose. But the question also is begged, what are the chances of fighting those prospects? They don't necessarily want you either. You think they want to fight Conor right now? Some of them might have to, but no, they don't. Let's look at the evidence, not the conjecture and the questioning. Have you heard them call him? Which one have you heard say, I want Conor? Okay, so that's enough. Even if they mention it a little bit, I'm talking about enthusiastically calling. None, not one, not even the best of those prospects. So move along. But what's the best way to the top then? This is not even the top, because this is not in your division. This is not time for exhibition. There's no time for it. This is not an exhibition fight. You get to do that when you're retired. Unless somebody drops a special amount. A special amount. That's the wife in the studio coughing. Yeah. So why would you want that? You don't want that. Why would you want that? Why are you doing this? Why would he be going for this type of matchup in this game? It's so unorthodox, a system. Unorthodox systems in finance work. But we're not talking just finance. We're looking at the nature of this game. This is entertainment. This is boxing. What do the fans want? And this is not what they want. What is best for the fighter? This is not what's best for the fighter. This is not what's best for the fighter. No way can it be said that this is what's best for the fighter. From Chris's side, absolutely. Let's get it. No one can blame him. No one can cuss him. No one can speak ill of this action he's taken. Financially, it's perfect. Entertainment-wise, it's perfect. Physically, it's perfect. He loses nothing. Whatever plan he had before this, oh, Chris, why don't you go fight GGG? Why don't you fight this one, that one? He's mentioned all the names. They didn't come meet it. They didn't answer. Or even if he had those plans already, drop it. Let's take Conor. Much better option, business-wise and in every other sense. You can't cuss him because he wasn't the one who called for it. Conor came out enthusiastically calling for it. So when we look at this from that perspective, you can see that the one playing the bad card, horrible card, is Eddie Hearn and Conor. As much as I like both, I would like to say it's a shameful one from Eddie, because why are you risking so much of this kid, so to speak? The money's high. It's a lot of money. Let's look around the world and multiply the currency factor from wherever you're looking from. We're talking pound sterling here. Pound sterling. Okay? This won't even be a dollar denominated occurrence financially. This is a pound sterling, the strongest value internationally in finance. And it's going to be in the millions. You better believe it. You better believe it. And as a commodities trader myself, also in the business, I know that I can see the business side of this, and I know why it is so desperate to get this. Any businessman in this day and age, in this time, in this period, time capsule in finance world, economics world, business world. You understand? You have to get it. Don't be pussy either. You have to get it. Go get it. Go get that paper right now. We understand that. But the thing is, it's not only about finance here. This game is about the reputability of these commodities, which are human resources. And it's not a time to shy away from that amount of liquidity in the game. And this amount of money is extremely rare to come by. And it has to be gotten at all costs. We can see that. This is like in the old days when warriors went out to get something that they had to get. Almost like the mercenaries. They're being sent out. And there's bags of treasures to get. This is not just any old silver coin. Maybe on the ships. And you know that ship is sailing by. And you know what treasures are on. Because that ship is going across with a certain luggage, a certain booty they call it. And the bounty is on his head, on his captain's head for that amount. And they have to go and acquire those resources at all costs, no matter the intensity of the navigation. And that's what they do. So this is a manifestation of that in this particular environment. Fistic world. It's just humanity being played cyclically in various avenues, geolocations, and manifestations. In this case, it's entertainment world, boxing. It's humanity, again, in our primordial instincts. But the question is not just power and grab, survival of the fittest. The question here is wisdom also. That's also an old sage virtue that should be esteemed highly in moments like this of high level decision making in your life. Again, I say those decisions are twofold here. Finance. What decision did you make when you look back in that time when I had the opportunity to make that billion? The other one is your survival. What decision did I make when I had the opportunity to safeguard my health or my safety? You know, when they leave food out for an animal, you know, they always seem so desperate to quickly come and grab it. Why? Because of the survival instincts. Eat. They have got to eat. The animal's got to eat. The animal's got to eat. But the question is not just having to eat or how tasty and delicious that meal is before them. The question is also their survival. So they're wary of you too, who's standing there with the food. They don't just come rushing in. They know, what if he kills me? So the whole point of survival becomes a paradoxical situation, a circumstance where you eat to live. You don't live to eat, because that same survival of eating may be a trap to eliminate you from the game and exterminate that survival. So that survival instincts become not just a paradox, but a contradiction. And you don't want to be a walking contradiction. This is not the game for that. Wisdom at all costs. It all depends on what's in the heart of the individual, the proponent. Right now it's CONOR. He's the one with the main concern. So it depends on what's in his heart. At this moment in time, it'll be fueled with a lot of braggadocio, even though that braggadocio is evidently justified to an extent, maybe 70% justified. So he's doing very well in the game. Very well. He's been doing very well. But at this level, you just don't know. You enter no man's land. You always want the lights on when you operate. Animals do go in the dark, but their eyes set a light like this so you can see what's going on. When you're operating in that climate, in that environment, there's a natural instinct to see, and their senses are heightened. They don't only have the eyes, they've got the nose, they've got all sorts to operate. Are you using all your senses? The human senses are way more than just the eyes and the initial primordial instincts. The other senses, make sure you're using them. Make sure you're utilizing them. You have to make sure you're utilizing them. This is not the time to be not using them. This is not the time to be eliminating them from your equations of judgment, which is one of the senses. So if he wins, he gains a lot, not only financially, not only the actual capital that will accrue in revenue, but also reputability within the game. The actual reputation of the commodity will be greatly enhanced, which will also further the negotiating capacity on any table of negotiation. But then after that, he'll have to now move forward from that point in time and still be confronted by the other challenges that come, even though they're not insurmountable. It's just that the percentage chance of opportunity success in those are kind of even keel, because you have to deal with those middle ground ones, which I mentioned earlier. And even if he was to get past those, like I said, Ortiz, Giron, and all those, he'll have to still meet the Spence and the Bud if they haven't ascended up to 154 already. No one said boxing's an easy game. No one said warrior life is an easy life. No one said business or finance is an easy life. We're not talking about ease now. We're talking about simplicity. Make it simple. That's one of the keys of wisdom. Simplify. Look at any mathematical equation, they'll tell you, simplify. Justify. You see justify in your computer icons, right? Understand that concept also. Now, let's go to war. If you're going to do it, go to war. Let's get it popping. Let's get it popping, fellas. Let's get it popping, Conor. If you're going to do it, then do it. Let's get it popping, Chris. If you're going to do it, do it. We'll be watching. The whole world is watching. UK is watching. Everybody's watching. But personally, I want to advise Conor to take this move. Except from the perspective of what if him losing to the other middle ground fighters that I mentioned, which there's a good chance he may. There's also a good chance he may defeat them. It's kind of even. Close to even. It may be seen as more from their side. Sometimes it may be seen as more from his side, depending on what you're looking at or how you're looking at. And not only just what you're looking at or how you're looking at, but what actually happens on the day, regardless of whether they are better than him or not, or he's better than them or not. The day has its own spirit, and you have to know how to utilize it. Like I said, you have to. So, I love the dimensions and the dynamics of this situation. It can be quite complex, and it is. But you have to be more complicated than your situation and know how to get on top of it. Ride that horse. So people, what do you think? 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 Comment. Let's hear what you think. Let's hear what you think. Like I said, I like them both. I like them both. I do like them both, and Good luck to both of them. Good fortune to both of them. Hopefully they get through this. Let's get it popping. Let's enjoy this. Let the parents not get too aggy about this either. This is not, you're not fighting each other. There's a great background for this. It will be good for promotion, but you don't even need that for promotion. The parents are advanced, mature. I see them both fit, still living their lives. Chris Eubank Senior and Nigel BENN. You don't need to get on each other's throats. We understand your blood's fighting, so someone could really get hurt. But at the end of this is some kind of a sport. You can call it a sport in some ways. Well, we can, because at the end of it, they're not trying to, you know, the enemy on the street, sometimes one is literally trying to eliminate, but sometimes, often, not just sometimes, in the game you see people, they shake hands at the end and everything's cool. There's respect. They understand what we're doing. Even in sparring, when fighters spar, we spar. When I was sparring and coming up, your best pals in the gym. We go traveling and fighting in hotels outside the country. We get on a plane together, yeah, and we fight in different countries, not against each other, on the same team. Sometimes those days we sleep in a hotel in the same room, separate beds, but one bed on one side of the room, another bed on the other side of the room. Yeah. Go to the nightclub that night. Those, like when I was, you know, with our teams, our fighting teams, and your pal's with you. He's sleeping on the other bed by the window. I'm on this bed by the window. We wake up, we go have our fights. He fights his opponent. I fight my opponent. You know, with our team and our coaches and everything. And we're best friends. Well, best friends, but we're like brothers, so to speak. You know, we're looking out for each other in that country. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever the days of sparring is in the club, we're at each other full on like lions, no mercy. And the coaches weren't having mercy anyway, they didn't letting us play. You know, there's blood everywhere, people getting knocked out. But we all get in the shower together at the fighting club. Everyone's in the shower, no one's screwing at anybody's faces or frowning at anybody. Even the same guy you just sparred just 5 minutes ago. And it's not like a special hug, a special, oh, don't worry, you're right. No, it's nothing. We all know. We're sparring. And we're not playing. Most of the time, it was absolute blood. If you're coming late, you bring your bag in past the ring before you get to your dressing room, and you see the people in there sparring, and it's blood. The coach is holding a bucket of blood and spitting it out. The guys are spitting out blood. Young kids, teenagers, up. No, big boys, 19, 18, 20, whatever. 15, 17, and there's blood everywhere. No tippy-tapping. We didn't have a tippy-tapping clubs, fighting clubs. But your old pals is like a family almost. So fighting is kind of like that. You're getting, unless you really have a specific enmity or a specific competition with a fighter who's, you know, he wants you out. So in that period of time, you can't be friends. Of course not. But it's not out of the way to understand that, okay, fight is done, cool. Fight is over, cool. Live another day. I'm not trying to kick your ass on the street. But some fights, yeah, you do want to kick that. But in this case, who knows? I want the promotion needs to be with just as much, not venom, but just as much passion. You don't need to be all friends in promotion. Let's get it popping. You want to fight, and the guy's gonna actually punch you out. And if he sees a chance, he'll make you lie down, boy. So, but let's not go too far. I don't think the parents need to be at each other's throat. It's a more beautiful thing if they're cool, they're semi-cool, or whatever. However it goes, man. Just get it popping. This is boxing, not tennis. Okay. Now, people, let's hear your comments. Let's hear your comments. This is an all-out British affair. This is an all-out British affair, and this is an all-out global affair also. So let's get it popping. I'm actually interested in this fight if it's gonna happen. I really don't like it. I don't think it should be done. I think Eddie, come on, what are you doing? Eddie, you just push this one too far. You push this one too far. This was not necessary. Unless there's something you see, which maybe you do see something. And I can see your point of view from that perspective. Let's get the bag. Let's get the bag. Let's get the bag in. Okay, fellas, this is Olisa Eric Osai in the game that I love. You know, we kick ass in high-end martial arts and all that. But we love boxing. I love boxing. You love boxing. Come on, people. We love boxing. Let's get it popping. We love boxing. Let's get it going. All right, let's go. Let me hear your comments. Let me hear what you think. Let's get it popping. And good luck to both fighters. Good luck to both of you. May the best man win. And this is Boxing Universe with Olisa Eric Osai. Yes.